Keith Reynolds, host of Morning Coffee. I'm here with my lovely host, who's filling in for Charlene Chamber, our lovely, lovely host, Barbara Fier.
Hi.
Barb, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, a little chilly out this morning, just a tad.
It is.
A tad. So we have a great show lineup today, and our first guest, I want to start off, Michael
Makofsky.
Sorry. Michael's a friend of mine, and I just can't say his last name. Michael and his wife Sandy. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Now, Michael, tell the viewers and listeners a little bit about what you do.
Okay. Well, I recently founded a company called Finding Your Voice.
Mm-hmm.
And Finding Your Voice is a public speaking coaching firm that helps pretty much anyone. I'm finding particularly that people in the corporate world are having difficulty taking that information that's here and getting it out. It's called glossophobia. It's the fear of public speaking. It's feared more than death. And more than 5 or 6 million people in the world suffer from it. And so because of my experience as a trained singer, as a voice actor, we can talk a little bit about how Sandy helped me get involved with that. And being in sales for over 30 years, I use those skills and education to help people be more confident in their public speaking.
You know, it's funny you say that. I think that, we did have, not speech class, but public speaking in high school.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell the people are just going to be salespeople and got it right away. And then the people that just kept being absent when they're
exactly.
Or just cower and can't get the words out.
You know what, they just, but it's really tough.
Some people have it and some people don't. But like anything else, you really do have to practice at it, and it's not easy for most.
Now, so without giving away all your secrets and everything, what are some, maybe one thing that you could possibly do to help a little?
Well,
if you're having trouble.
Especially in this region, we tend to speak pretty quickly. Not as quickly as people more north of us, and certainly faster than people south of us. So one of the things that we can do is just slow down. Okay.
I need that. I'm a New Yorker, and I'm AAA personality. So.
Right, exactly.
I'm Jersey, but I talk fast like a New Yorker.
Right, exactly. And one thing is that, as we say in the business, if you go up on a line and you forget what you're saying when you're talking pretty quickly, it makes it much more obvious that you don't know what you're doing. But if you're taking your time, you can also give yourself the opportunity to add inflection. You can use the timbre, the quality, the rate, the pace, the rhythm in your voice, like we do in music and everything else, to make the communication much more interesting to the listener.
I'm here.
And there's a lot of other effects.
Shift to gears right there.
Exactly.
Yeah, but do you think that when you do that you kind of almost think too much to where you start looking? They say when people look different directions, that means stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think when I slow down, I'm trying to think and make sure that I say everything right.
Right.
But then I start looking different places, and I feel like, I look to the right, maybe they think I'm lying or something.
I think it's just a matter of not allowing your mouth to go faster than your head is.
Right.
Because a lot of times that's what we do when we get nervous.
One thing I can share that I learned from Sandy as a director, is very interesting that the voice will follow the body. And I worked with a client recently who had a cotton mouth and he was nervous and sweating. And I said, okay, speak for me. And he kept walking and pacing and pacing and pacing. And she has actors that do the same thing. She says, would you stand still? Would you pick a spot? I mean, and
actually,
so
I'm going to nail your feet to the floor.
I'm going to nail your feet to the floor, right, exactly. So once I got him to slow down and do what we call in music ABA, establish the theme, stop, move, expand on the theme, then move back to A and whatever, it physically slowed him down. And when his body slowed down, he became more comfortable as well. Yeah.
Now, Sandy, you're a director and a choreographer.
Yeah.
I can't talk
It's
too early.
It's too cold.
I got my coffee today.
That's right.
So tell us a little bit how, what your role in this is, as far as what Michael's doing.
Well, I'm a freelance director and choreographer since maybe for the last 15 years. I've sort of established, I work at Carusi Middle School. I started the program there. Actually, that's 18 years. And then I've been working at Voorhees Theater Company and the resident director there now. So I still do other stuff, but those are sort of my home bases. I've been doing this since forever. I actually went to school for theater. And I met him actually doing the show.
Really?
Yeah.
In college. Right. Well, that's an interesting story. It was a little bit of a purposeful move on my part.
Ah.
I mean, I was a singer. We were in the show. I was in company, and she was the assistant choreographer to outside professional director from New York City that had worked with Hal Prince, and we were all working together. So it was very intensive, you know. And I didn't know my left foot from my right foot, but she was very patient and very cute, and still is very cute. And I was like, and she really was very patient and very like, okay, we can do this, we can do this. And then that was 1970.
Yeah.
So,
And so, yeah. So basically, since then, well, for a while we didn't work together at all. I just did my job, he did his job.
And you owned your own studio.
Yeah, I did. I owned my own. You know, over the years, lots of different things. But he's always had this incredible voice, this speaking voice. His timbre is really interesting, and everybody has always said that. And so I guess it was last year, maybe
About
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
I actually found a workshop in Philly and just said, you really should just go and see what this is about in terms of speaking and doing voiceover work.
Right.
And sort of out of that, I think you just started realizing the value of the theater background and what it had, why he's so good at what he does in sales is because he's so comfortable speaking. People are very comfortable speaking to him.
Yeah.
So we sort of then we started working together on and off sort of. He worked with me at Carusi. That's actually the first vocal directing he did.
Right.
And then, and now works with me at Voorhees in the summer.
Right.
So,
and the fall.
And the fall, right. So now, you know, he sort of married all of those things together and realized that the things that made him strongest in his daily work were the theater background, and then started thinking how he could make other people feel more comfortable.
There's something in the business called script breakdown, and it's very much just like sales. Who are you? Who's your audience? What do you expect to get? I mean, all the very same types of things. And those same things are the same thing in acting as well. So there's this triangle that I sort of created between the sales focus, the voiceover business, and the music business. And in the music business, there's tempo and pace and rate and volume and everything else. So it all correlates, and it's amazing. And having worked with Sandy and watch her work so patiently with 8-year-olds to 80-year-olds, you know, it's also a great experience to be a good listener. It's helped me to be a better listener. And that has helped me in many, many ways, in our personal lives, as well as in business and in the voiceover business.
Well, we're going to talk about that when we come off of commercial break. We'll be back in 90 seconds.
Kick off your new year at the Croc Center, helping families achieve their full potential with fitness facilities, indoor competition and play pools, performing arts theater, educational programs, and fun for all ages, including seniors and teens on our 24-acre campus in the Kramer Hill section of Camden. Book now for birthday parties and corporate events. Monthly memberships start at $25 for a household of 4. The Ray and Joan Kroc Core Community Center in Camden, where potential meets opportunity.
My name is Karonda Jones. I'm the owner of Kiddie Academy of Mount Laurel, New Jersey. The 4 pillars of life essentials are developmentally appropriate curriculum, technology, health and fitness, and character education.
They give great attention to each child, and my kids are happy at the end of the day. Academically, exposing them to the state curriculum early. He's getting the exposure with the alphabet and the numbers and reading and writing, so I'm really confident in him going to the next level.
This year they did little pictures with the kids, and they made like popsicle sticks and made their own frames, and you know, it had a little picture. They were holding a picture that said, "I love you, Daddy," and literally that morning I melted. Everybody's friends here. Yeah, it's not like he comes home every day crying about the bully. It's like everyone's buddies.
The worst part about Kiddie Academy is trying to get my kids to come home at the end of the day. They have so much fun.
Well, welcome back. I'm Keith Reynolds, host of Morning Coffee. I'm here with my co-host, Barbara Fieri. I'm so brutal today. And our guests, Sandy and Michael Makofsky.
Good.
Dude,
all right.
Thank you. And you know, right before break, we were talking to Sandy and Michael that you know they're actually their jobs kind of intertwined.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to tell us at least a funny story of how it intertwined. And
well, I'll let Sandy speak to this, but Sandy is the director on stage as well as at home.
Oh. Is that right, Sandy?
Well, next month we'll be married 35 years.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I think
That
it's
is
quite an
wonderful.
accomplishment. You know.
Congratulations, that is
Yeah.
an accomplishment.
It's an
Yeah.
accomplishment.
They say the average marriage is 10 years nowadays.
Yes,
So
really?
you've tripled that, yes.
Wow,
Yeah.
unbelievable. Well, we have a lot to be thankful for, and we have our trials and tribulations, but we communicate a lot, and we work through them, and I think we're the better for it.
You
At least I know
talk
I
slow
am.
when you're talking there to make sure you.
No,
I
I'm
just-
the one that talks
I
fast.
just listen and go, you're right, you're absolutely right. I was an
You
idiot.
know what, Sandy, to mention what you said earlier, we were talking about people, the speed of people's talk in their region. I had someone say that to me very often. I'd say, I'm not talking too fast, you're listening too slow.
Yeah,
slow.
What's my remedy to that?
Absolutely.
I mean, I can get it out, you're not getting it.
Right.
I know, because your
Right,
brain goes
right.
so fast, you just want to get it out.
Right.
Well, one thing I will share with you is that, you know, a lot of people at Voorhees Theater Company, for example, don't really know that we're married. They just think, you know, she's the director, choreographer, and I'm the music director, okay? So it can be challenging. Somehow, when you're husband and wife, you tend to say things in certain ways that two strangers or two colleagues don't. So it's, we have to, at least I know, I have to be careful about that. And so it was a couple of years ago, and we had a situation where she was trying to get a rhythm on something, and I said something, she said something back, and you know, it was like, and we were like, ooh, you know, I didn't think they realized that we were married, okay? But it was
Take
a,
5, people.
The kids are always really
right,
amazed by
exactly,
that.
right,
I got some
exactly.
explaining to do.
Yeah.
Well, Sandy says, honey, you know, when we're here, I'm the director. You know, we can talk about other things later on. And she was absolutely right. It was a faux pas on my part. Ultimately, the director has final say over everything in the show, and I need to respect that. And it was a good lesson learned.
Well, because ultimately it comes back to you. I mean,
Yeah, it does. But we work like a well-oiled machine now. Yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah.
taken a lot of oiling, but we.
There's a big advantage by being married because we can then work at home. Honey, I need to cut this. I need to listen. Do these measures work? Do those not? What do you think about this rhythm, whatever? And so she could be a lot more productive. Sandy is an incredibly great planner. Most directors and choreographers, as I say, pull it out of their butts. They just kind of, she doesn't. She has graphs and charts, and she goes in absolutely prepared, knowing what to do. And so clear lines of communication for her in her own head and with me are very important, and therefore if our team, production team, technical team, musical team are together, then it benefits the actors as well. And they recognize that. And they see we come in ready to go.
Tell me about choreography. Like, what is that?
It's the art of dance. It's creating and then teaching the dance in a show or anything, where there's dance involved.
Like, we see like the awards and all those
Yeah.
dancers up there. That's choreography.
Yes. Somebody
Wow,
comes
that's
in and does that.
amazing.
Yeah.
Like Dances with the Stars. Someone puts together the
Yeah, I
whole-
did. I actually
You
Cherry
did
Hill
something
Dancing
like
with
that.
the well, Cherry Hill Dancing with the Stars. I was the choreographer and
Assistant director.
Assistant director for
Right.
since it began.
So do you have to make it, like, do you put together the dance moves, or do you have to make it look good on the camera, or both? I mean, like, what is?
Both.
Okay, so.
You know, I create the dance. I listen to it, and because of the music, I see pictures in my head, and then I notate what I have. I take into consideration who's doing it, their level of skill, how many people are in it, what the stage, the space is like, and then create it.
It's also important that the line in the show, the dance continues to tell the story. Unless it's dance for dance sake, Sandy is adamant, and I've heard her say this for many, many years, just don't put in a dance. You don't do a jazz move when you're doing, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, just because it's a dance move.
Yeah.
The dance has to coalesce with the storyline. The dance movement has to further the plot.
Which is why years ago I kind of stopped. I worked at Cherry Hill East. I worked with Tom Weaver, and I love him. We're really good friends, and he's a very magnanimous director, so it's easy for me to work with him as a choreographer. But I don't work with other directors anymore, just because in my head it's just so much easier to go from the one thing into the other thing, because it all makes sense to me.
Right.
So, yeah.
And we're sort of yin yang like that, because for me, if I were to listen to music, I see notes. I can see the music. I can see the rhythms. I don't see pictures. I don't see that at all. And I asked her that years ago. I said, when you listen to music, what do you see? She goes, I see pictures in my head. She sees dead people. And she sees the movement, and then she coalesces that with the actors in the storyline, and it works, you know.
Very cool, very cool. I
Yeah.
always thought that stuff's fascinating to sit there and how do they move the same way all the time? You know what I mean? Like,
Well, sometimes they don't.
Sometimes they
So
don't.
we work
Well,
really hard to make sure that they do.
Also, choreographers work on staging and blocked movement, which is not necessarily dance moves,
Right.
but it's not just blocking either. It's well, you can explain it better. It's sort of a combination
Yeah.
of movement.
Yeah, it's not considered dance, but it's definitely a step up from just what we call blocking, which is when you move from one place to another.
Right.
It's more stylized.
Right. Well, I mean, you think about like the Super Bowl, like that platform is so
Oh, yeah.
huge. One person out of place doing the wrong thing,
Oh, yeah.
they're going to stick out, and
And they do.
It'll be on the news.
And
That's
this
right.
one is a stickler for detail, incredibly detailed. Your hands have to be a certain way. Your feet don't, put your feet that way. They should be this way, and keep your head up. And
Well,
look.
there's a certain discipline, and I work a lot with kids. I mean, I work with everybody, all ages, but and professional and non-professional. But I love working with kids. That's why I ended up at middle school.
Now, with all the things going on out there in the world with kids and stuff like that, do you think you see a bigger focus on what you're doing and more of the younger generations kind of going into that?
Yeah, I wish there was more art funding. That would be
Yeah,
really
that's
wonderful.
huge.
So
Yeah.
it's always a struggle. But that's the one thing I love about working with kids is that it speaks to what he does.
Mhm.
When the kids in theater learn discipline, they learn organization, they learn communication, they learn to feel good about themselves, they learn to present themselves, and you need that in any job, anywhere.
Absolutely.
That's true.
So
Absolutely.
so they all benefit, and we have lots of special needs, and they all benefit as well. And there's some lovely letters from parents, for kids who have moved on. It's really exciting to work with kids, and they do benefit from it.
Yeah, and there is not a lot of funding for the arts.
No,
There
there's
really
not.
is not.
It's just taken away a little bit.
I think there's a big surge happening though. I know some of my friends that are involved in different art programs for like dyslexia and
Yeah.
autism. Now art therapy is really
absolutely.
Right.
making a big push out there in
Right.
the world. So once that happens, I think funding. I mean, because
Yeah.
I think we take for granted. We see Beyonce up there doing her thing, but those probably 20 people on the stage with her,
Right.
man.
Yeah.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I was at an event last night, and I spoke with someone who's the sound guy. And I said, and he was telling me about his experiences growing up. He sang in the choir and he played guitar. And I said, tell me, your experiences, in grade school and middle school and high school, being on stage and doing all of that, did that give you any leg up or any confidence in what you do today? And he says, absolutely. He says, I can imagine that I'd be doing half of what I'd be doing today if I didn't to have that experience.
And you know what? You think about it. Everybody has to play an instrument or be part of the band. At least when I was going to school.
Right.
And you know what? Everyone wanted to get the guitar or the drums or whatever. But you know what? I know sitting in front of that audience at assembly, it was like my first breakthrough being in front of people where I was always comfortable.
It's also in theater you create this, when you're in rehearsal for 6 or 8 weeks, it's very intensive. You have this family, like any team, okay? But it's like in baseball or football or basketball, it's a season. And that's great experience, okay? But here it's much more intensive. And you don't have 2 people. You don't have 2 tight ends or 2 forwards. You have one person playing your part normally. We don't double cast, or we don't have the luxury of having understudies. So when that person comes and doesn't have their script, it's not only letting down us, but letting down themselves, more so their team,
The whole team.
as well. And so it's a very very intensive
It's a lot of
experience.
commitment.
And what's interesting is you play different team members. You might do really well with one team, and then the next play,
Yes,
whole
exactly.
new crew, so you have to adjust to everybody's personalities and strengths.
Well, I was going to say, you probably experienced that with the daytime program, the camp program, where you have 75 kids in the morning, right? And the 75 kids in the afternoon, and then you switch. I mean, you have 2 entirely different abilities and casts there.
So now is this a summer?
This is in Voorhees. It's
Or
run through the CER, and it's always. I think they just opened. We're probably going to be booked by next week. I mean, it's a really popular program, and we run it. It's a day program. It's from 9 to 3, 4 days a week, and it's the ages are 8 to 13, 14, whatever 8th grade is.
I was wondering.
Yeah.
You were saying kids, and I was wondering what age.
That
Yeah.
particular one is. We have an evening program for teens to 22.
Uh-huh.
But this program is for the kids. And we do, I work during the morning with one group and put the show together. And the other group goes to professional workshops that we bring in. And workshops that we have counselors who are all kids that have been doing theater or in college for theater. And then they have lunch and then they switch. So there's 2 shows at the end of the season.
Right.
And it's a 6-week period and it's pretty intensive and it's a great program. They learn a lot.
So we just have a few minutes left before our next guest comes on. Michael, just tell our listeners, viewers, where they can find you.
Okay.
With your
Finding Your Voice.
Finding Your Voice.
Well, the website is being worked on,
Okay.
but it is www.findingyourvoice.com. Findingyourvoice.com. So look for that soon. But in the meantime, probably the easiest way is my phone number, which is 609-472-9531.
Okay. And Sandy, the director, where can folks find you, and where can they find that more information about that? Well, now, do you have to be from Voorhees?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, can you
Interesting.
give
That's
that
good to know.
information?
Sure,
out?
it's Voorhees Theater, TheATRE.org. Yeah, that's the website, and all the information is on there for both shows.
Then they can come see you, the director.
They can come see me.
Right.
All right.
What
Well, guys,
shape?
guys, thank you so much for coming on
Thank
Morning
you.
Coffee
Great.
this morning,
Really
being
enjoyed it.
our
Thanks.
first guest. The listeners will be back in 90 seconds after a commercial break. Thank you.
Thank you.